What's going on, world? It's your boy Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World, here for another amazing interview with my favorite comics company, Skybound and Image. They have a new comic book, Destro, off the heels of G.I. Joe. I am a real American hero. I love it. And talking all things G.I. Joe is from across the pond, Dan Waters. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having me.
I appreciate you, man. So, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. I've had on some of the rest of the team. We've talked G.I. Joe, we've talked Cobra Commander, we've talked Duke, and now we've got a new spinoff series, a new 4-issue series, focusing on our favorite arms dealer, who you said, I don't think this is spoiling anything, but is who wouldn't love a punk rock vampire wrestler type? Well, he's not a vampire, but he looks like a wrestler slash vampire, but he's amazing. How is it getting the nod to lay down some of your thoughts and work on Destro?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's the editors came to me with this character, and I could sort of immediately see why. He's a sort of megalomaniac, cackling Scottish despot, the kind of thing I very much enjoy writing. So yeah, I think this was exactly the right quarter of me to come into this universe and cause as much trouble as I could.
And I can't wait to see what you're going to do. I had the pleasure of reading the first issue already, causing chaos over there, Dan. But I'm not going to spoil for the fans. I saw also when I read as well, you didn't grow up like we did here in America with a real American hero, cartoons and stuff. I'm sure some of it came across the pond, but you grew up with Action Man. How
Yeah.
did you get into, okay, once you got the assignment, what kind of research did you did, or did you eventually like later read some of the stuff or watch the cartoon growing up?
No, I mean, I never saw it growing up, but yeah, once I was approached to it, I took enough of a look to see that it was something that interested me, um, and from there it was about doing the being a professional and doing the research and getting into it and using it as an excuse to watch cartoons during the workday. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's already it's we're doing a new continuity which is based on trying to sort of find the sort of truest version of these characters. So I was looking at the old Marvel comics, looking at the 80s cartoons, looking at some of the newer iterations to sort of find what's the sort of through line of the character that stays the same in every version. And to be honest, Destro, you know even with tonal shifts of different versions of the franchise, Destro is always Destro. He's got a pretty firm lock on who he is. So just getting into that and exploring what made him like that was uh it wasn't too hard to find the source materials, to find what interested me in him.
I love that. I was going to ask you that. That actually answered a question that I was going to have, because we all know G.I. Joe. We all know the cartoon, the comic book. It's been around for quite some time, but also Skybound and is building up this new Energon universe, right? So how did you find your lane, and how did you put Dan Waters into Destro? As a fellow creative myself, I see you really connected personally with the character and kind of like how he kind of carries himself in different ways. What can the fans expect with this Destro miniseries that you can talk about without spoiling?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the fact that he's already sort of coming from this, he's already sort of established his place in the world in a way that most of the other characters that are being explored in these books, possibly with the exception of like Scarlet, have. You know, Cobra Commander is still figuring out what it means to be Cobra Commander. Duke, GI Joe isn't a thing yet. They're sort of building towards that, or sort of realizing they need that kind of force. Whereas Destro was already, he comes from a long line of Destros, and Destros have always considered themselves kind of kings of the world. They've shaped what the world looks like now, through um, through selling weapons to the highest bidder, to controlling the sort of flow of firepower around the world. And he's the latest in this line, so he starts from this more comfortable position of knowing who he is and what he stands for. But now all of these new elements are emerging in the world. There's Energon itself. There's sort of rumblings about, you know, technologies which shouldn't and cannot exist, and that he knows nothing about, which he cannot stand as a concept. So I guess this is kind of a more, you know, sort of ground floor looking up version of the Energon universe, where this is someone coming into it from the outside, from a more concrete reality, and kind of figuring out what's changing in the world and what that means for him and how that's going to possibly upset him from his throne.
I have to tell you, that's what's making this so exciting. I know for myself, and I can't wait to see where you're going to go. Because again, I got blessed to read the first issue. I want to know so much, but I don't want to spoil it for the readers out there, and I don't want to spoil it for myself. I want to go on this journey with you. So I got to ask you, as I love how you're creating this new world and for Destro in different ways. Also, you know, nods to the past, but also you're able to define it for yourself. How wonderful is that for you as a writer yourself to like kind of be here on the ground floor of what Skybound is doing in this Energon universe? Is that for you? And also to tie to that, bringing in what we know from before, what do you like character wise? I don't think it's a spoiler to say we get to see some bats. You know, we all know Destro is behind bats. And I love how all that's into playing. Can you just talk about, you know, being on the ground floor of, you know, we have 4 issues here, but I want to see Dan come back. I want to see Dan come back more and do more, see what else you're going to do with this new baby you're establishing, right? And what you'd like to bring in along the way that, you know, again, without spoiling anything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're a couple of books deep into the world at this point where we came in, but yeah, it's still sort of, you know, a fledgling universe, which is still sort of figuring itself out, and it was cool to be invited in and sort of, you know, entrusted with building out a corner of that, and that's really fun. You know, I like doing superhero stuff where you're working, you know, with decades and decades of canon, because I think that puts a real weight to what you're doing. You know, there's already this like established weight of like who Batman is or Superman is, or whatever. And these characters have that, but this is a new version, and we're able to sort of twist it and tweak it for today's world, and you know, present it like it's something new, which is an exciting idea. And sort of, you know, look at some elements and say, okay, these are core things that we want to keep exactly the same. And then there's maybe 1 or 2 things that we looked at and go, all right, what if we just broke this all together and made it something unexpected?
Oh yeah, and I'm excited. I love what you're doing with it. So in regards to, like I said, you know, this isn't spoiling anything, but for those that are fans of this, I'm sure they're asking, when are we going to see Baroness? Because we know the Destro Baroness relationship. I think I was also in the solicits that, you know, Tomax and Xamot, how they, you know, are all kind of dealing with Cobra in the arms race. Are there, you know, any of those characters you would like to touch, if, you know, past the 4 issues, or just down the line, that you would like to see personally, if this baby isn't your baby anymore, but we're excited for these 4 issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be, you know, whoever handles it, it's going to be interesting seeing how um, Destro and Baroness eventually do connect, because you know, I feel like that's something that needs to happen. But if you know, if you look at, you know, Baroness has already been in Duke, and she's off on quite a different trajectory right now. You know, I was one of my initial like questions when we started this book. It was like, okay, what's going on with Baroness? And it's like, okay, well, she's actually on a different, you know, path right this second. And again, this is a very early days for Cobra, for GI Joe, so it makes sense that they won't, you know, meet for probably a while. Um, but when they do, that'll inevitably be explosive. But that was a side of Destro that I definitely wanted to make sure got into the book. So we are definitely approaching that side of him, that you know, sort of very toxic romantic side of him, in a different way.
Well, I cannot wait, man. I want to see all the things and I want to ask all the things. But again, because the first issue hasn't dropped yet, it drops everywhere on June 19th, y'all, at your LCS. Go pick it up. I just want to have you back once it's all wrapped up because I'm loving what you're doing. I'm a big G.I. Joe fan, Dan. What do you want to tell the fans about Destro to like close this out and what they can expect from this vampire looking, well, pro wrestler looking vampire? I love that comment. Being a vampire fan and also being a pro wrestling fan, when I read that you wrote that, it was hilarious. Dan, you had me laughing.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you know, it's like you see the character, like, you know, again, I was seeing him sort of, or looking at him properly for the first time as an adult and sort of going, like, this guy looks insane in the best way. And then, you know, look at what's his deal. It's like, oh, he's a Scottish arms dealer. And but like the reason he wears the mask and thing is something that we absolutely don't shy away from in the book. That's going to be part of the story before it's over. So you know, it's all in there. It's all in the book. As to like what to expect, there's a lot of espionage, a lot of explosions, and a lot of Destro just being horrible, just treating people. You know, as soon as he gets on top in any situation, he's having the most fun he possibly can, crushing people underfoot. So what else would you want from him?
There you go. Everybody, Dan, I love it. Kudos. Congratulations on a great first issue. I can't wait to read the rest. And you're killing it all over at Skybound, man. I'm also a fan of Creature over there.
Oh,
So
thank you
I
very
don't think that
much.
messes anything up because this is another Skybound title. Shout out to your partner, Ram V. You're doing amazing work. I'm a new fan, Dan. It's a pleasure chatting with you. Everybody,
Appreciate it. Likewise.
appreciate you, sir. Destro in stores June 19th. Go pick it up at your LCS at your local comic shop. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Thank you, Dan Waters. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We are recording, and here we go in a one, two, three.